Moore Law is underwritten in the public interest by the Moore Law Firm, a legal professional association. This is Moore Law on Fox 19.
Good morning. You know, people who get behind the wheel after drinking can wind up facing serious consequences. Will a DUI mean a fine, losing your license, or jail time? More sobering is the possibility of injuring or even killing someone while driving drunk. What recourse do victims have against drunk drivers? If you have a question about a DUI-related arrest or injury, give us a call, and we, of course, will take your questions live. With me, as always, Don Moore. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How you doing,
New Year's
Deb?
Eve morning, very good.
A good Christmas, I hope.
It was wonderful.
And I guess for tonight, party hardy, right?
I'm going to party hardy at my house. I think we're going to have some people over, and that'll be nice.
All right, that sounds pretty safe. You know, one of the things I'm excited about today's topic because it's something that so many people really just don't know much about. Everybody thinks with the DUI law that it's illegal to drink and then drive, and that's just not the case. And we've got an expert here to help us. Nick, thanks a lot for coming.
Thanks for having me.
You know, Nick, let's start off with, if somebody gets pulled over and they believe they're getting pulled over for a DUI-related offense, what should they know? What should they do or not do?
First of all, remain calm. Remain calm. It's not the end of the world. Second thing, be polite with the officer. Getting to the most important part of it is do not do the field sobriety test. Do not blow in the breathalyzer when asked.
Boy, it's really hard to do that. If the police officer is saying to me, here's how this is going to work. I need you to walk this line or touch your nose or whatever that is, and this is how, you know, and you have to blow into this device. I mean, how do you say no?
Because it's your right to say no. Remember, they're trying to collect evidence against you. You just don't want to hand them evidence. So it is your right to say no. You can refuse the field sobriety test without any penalty. However, if you refuse the breathalyzer, there is an automatic driver's license suspension that comes along with that. But generally, there is no incentive to take that breath test.
Okay. Don, you wanted to add something to that?
Well, yeah. You know, I didn't really give Nick the proper introduction that we normally do. Nick Klingensmith is a lawyer that handles DUIs. Nick is an elder grad. Nick is a former city prosecutor. He went to school, University of Cincinnati, got his undergrad degree, and then he also went to Chase College of Law. So he is a Cincinnati boy through and through, and he knows his DUI stuff. He's prosecuted tons of these cases.
Well, then we are glad to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
I do appreciate it.
So, Nick, you know, what you just said a minute ago, that sounds real easy. The nice police officer says, I want you to step out of the car. First of all, do you have to step out?
You do.
Okay,
You do.
and if he asks you for your license, do you have to give him a license?
You do.
And then he says, he doesn't ask you if you've been drinking, he asks how many you've had to drink, right?
That's correct.
And they've heard probably 2 beers before.
That's the usual line.
Yeah, and 2 means somewhere between something and 200, but it always means that you've admitted drinking.
That's correct.
And so that's a bad thing.
It is. It is.
And so then he says, we want you to do some field sobriety tests like touching your nose and walking the line and reciting alphabet backwards and following his pin around and all that stuff. And what do you say to that?
No.
Okay, tell us more.
Basically, you do not have to do those tests. You're really just handing them evidence to use in your prosecution. A lot of times officers have already made their mind up that you've been drinking, and you're probably going to be arrested regardless of how you perform those tests. The only time I'd ever tell someone to take those field sobriety tests if they've absolutely not been drinking, because they cannot benefit you.
So drinking or not, don't do the psychomotor test.
That's correct.
All right, great.
Okay. Let's head to the phones now. I think first up we have Doug in Williamstown. Good morning, Doug.
Morning.
How can we help?
Yes, because of my age and my previous injuries, I cannot pass a field sobriety test. Coordination and everything's not right, but they're going to think I'm drunk and lock me up anyway.
So Doug, let me just mention something to you. No one can pass them. Unless you've been practicing touching the very tip of your nose with your index finger while you're looking up at the sky with your eyes closed and your heels put together, you're simply not going to pass that test. It just doesn't happen. So don't do them ever. I think that's what Nick just said. And coordination or no coordination is just not, it's not going to work.
But what he was saying is he's concerned that somebody's just going to lock him up under the, they're going to assume he was drinking because he refuses to take them. But that's not necessarily true.
The officer should be asking you whether you have medical conditions before performing those tests, and by all means you want to explain to them all the medical conditions you have so they do not believe that you were drinking.
Okay. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Bob in Coleraine. Bob?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
My question is, I had a DUI in '89 and '90, and I was wondering how you go about getting that off your record now that I'm way older.
That's a good question.
Is it possible to do that?
It is not possible under the current law to have an OVI or DUI. They're now called OVIs expunged. It's just not possible.
Given the length of time that has passed since then, would he, do they say, oh, okay, he had one 20 years ago if he would get pulled over again, or does that still count against you?
It does. There's actually 2 look-back periods when it comes to an OVI or DUI, 6 years and 20 years. DUIs that you have in the last 20 years count against you if you decide to refuse a breath test.
So basically, a DUI is a really serious charge.
It is. It sticks with you for life.
And would you tell us just what the penalties are, like what the law provides as far as a DUI goes?
If it's your first DUI ever, first in 6 years, it's one of the look-back periods. Basically, you're looking at a minimum mandatory 3 days in jail or in a driver's intervention program, if you've heard of the hotel class.
Okay.
You're looking at fines from anywhere from $375 up to $1,075. You're looking at 6-month driver's license suspension up to 3 years. You're looking at expensive reinstatement fees. You're looking at court costs. You're looking at probation, and not to mention all the collateral consequences that come with the DUI conviction, maybe loss of job, increased insurance rates. There's just a whole host of problems that come with that conviction.
Okay, so Nick, you mentioned driver's intervention class. That's not free, is it?
No, no.
What's that cost?
Depending on what kind of room you would like at the hotel, they range anywhere from $400 to $700, depending on the hotel that it's at as well.
So when you say hotel, do you mean hotel literally?
It is actually at a hotel now. One of the programs, Access Ohio, does take place at a hotel.
Is it a flea bag or is it a decent place?
I don't know. I've never been there, so.
No,
We're getting down to the nitty-gritty
I'll
here
bet you've
today.
had some clients who have.
I have. Let's just say it probably wouldn't be their first choice of
Okay.
that.
All right, so I want to get this straight. We got about $400 to $700 for the driver intervention program. You got about $375 minimum
Minimum.
fine, okay, and you got court costs. What's that?
I think they are 104 right now.
104 court costs, okay, and then you mentioned reinstatement fee. How much is that?
Generally $475, but there is some wiggle room with that, and depending on what the actual conviction.
Okay, and I can tell you from a more civil standpoint, your insurance is going up, and if they don't cancel you, it's going to cost you somewhere between $500 and $1,500 per year extra for minimum 3 years. That's a lot of jack. That's an expensive ticket.
It is.
All right, well, we are going to take a break right now. We'll be back taking your questions about DUI. Give us a call, 513-421-4691.